All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to break down an absolutely powerful lesson on leadership and making decisions, and it comes from a place you might not expect, a U.S. Marine Corps field manual. But listen, what you're about to see isn't just for soldiers. It's really a guide for anyone who needs to lead a team when things get chaotic.
And we're starting right in the thick of it with this quote. A commander lays down the law, and it perfectly sets the stage for everything we're about to talk about. He says, "I don't deal in data, I deal in pictures." Right there, you know this isn't about spreadsheets, it's about genuine understanding.
So let's paint our own picture here. Meet Major Gustafson. He's an intelligence officer, and he's about to brief his new boss, a pretty tough, no-nonsense colonel. And Gustafson is prepared. He is armed with just pages and pages of data, thinking he's about to knock the colonel's socks off.
But just as Gustafson starts rattling off rainfall statistics, the colonel just cuts him off. He doesn't want the raw numbers. He wants to know what it all means. So what? Can our helicopters fly in this weather? Are the tanks going to get stuck in all that mud? He needs a picture of the situation, not a data dump. And that right there is our first big idea. Having data is not the same thing as having insight.
Now, to really hammer this point home, the story shows us two totally different leadership styles, two conflicting realities. And first up, we've got Lieutenant Colonel Hewson. This is a commander who sees the entire world, the entire battle through his computer screen. So, for Hewson, everything is clean. It's orderly. The battlefield is just this neat collection of little green icons on a high-res map. It's almost like a video game. He can zoom in, tap the screen, and send out orders to move his little pieces around with what feels like perfect precision. From way back in his command post, he thinks he has total control.
But for the people who are actually out there, on the ground, like Second Lieutenant Connors, well, the reality is a whole lot different. What looks like a perfect avenue of approach on Hewson's clean map is, in her world, this tangled, impassable mess of thorny bushes. The digital plan is clashing hard with messy physical reality.
And you can just feel the frustration in this quote from Connors. She says, "What do they even need lieutenants for if they're going to try to control us like puppets?" See, when leaders try to micromanage from a distance, they're not just causing frustration. They are actively disempowering the very people on the ground who they need to be solving problems. It's a really dangerous disconnect. So, what happens when this perfect, top-down, clean plan smacks right into messy reality? What happens when chaos decides to show up to the party? Well, a crisis hits. Captain Knudsen, he's an attack helicopter pilot. He's flying in absolutely terrible weather, and he suddenly stumbles across a huge enemy force. It is completely unexpected, in a place it was never supposed to be, and it has the potential to throw the entire operation into chaos. Now, Knudsen knows that the official reporting system is just way too slow. By the time his message snakes its way up the chain of command and then back down again, it's going to be game over. So what does he do? He takes initiative. He breaks the rules, lands his attack helicopter in a muddy field, and sprints over to warn a ground commander, Captain Takashima, face to face. Now, an act that bold, that's not just some rogue pilot going off script. That's a feature, not a bug, of a totally different philosophy of leadership. It's not about following a detailed plan, it's about everyone understanding the ultimate goal. So let's unpack this really powerful idea. The Marine Corps Manual basically breaks it down into two opposing ideas. On one side, you've got detailed command. That's the rigid, centralized micromanagement we saw from Hewson. But on the other side, you have mission command, a decentralized approach that doesn't just allow for initiative, it depends on it. And the secret sauce that makes this whole thing work is a concept called commander's intent. Instead of giving people a long list of step-by-step instructions, leaders communicate the purpose of the mission, the why. And because Captain Takashima on the ground understands the ultimate goal, he doesn't have to freeze and wait for new orders. He can immediately adapt, scrap the old plan, and deal with this new threat all on his own. And get this way of thinking, it's not just for the junior officers on the front line. It scales all the way to the very top. The most senior leaders, they don't get their picture by looking at more computer screens, they get it by getting out there. Just look at the top general's schedule in a single 24-hour period. Is he glued to a screen? No way. He is constantly moving, visiting units, personally talking to the pilots, meeting with commanders face-to-face. Every single one of those conversations, every visit, it's like another brushstroke on that mental picture of the battlefield that the colonel demanded right at the start. All of this running around, all this face-to-face stuff, it builds a skill that the manual calls coup d'oeil. It's a French term, And it basically means an intuitive grasp of a chaotic situation, that stroke of the eye that lets you see right through the fog of war. It's the kind of human judgment that, frankly, no amount of data or AI can ever replicate.
Okay, so what is the ultimate payoff here? Why go through all this trouble to prioritize initiative over detailed control? Well, it all comes down to one thing: speed, tempo.
It all boils down to this really cool concept called the OODA loop. It's a cycle. First, you observe what's happening. Then you orient. You figure out what it means. Based on that understanding, you decide on a course of action. And finally, you act. But here's the thing. As soon as you act, the whole situation changes, and the loop starts right over again.
The key to winning isn't just making good decisions. It's making good decisions faster than your opponent. By empowering people like Knutson and Takashima to make decisions right there on the spot, Mission Command lets the entire organization operate at a blistering pace. You're not just reacting faster, you're making the enemy's moves obsolete before they can even make them.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, in an age where we're all obsessed with big data, with algorithms and AI, the Marine Corps offers this powerful reminder that the best answer to chaos isn't always more technology. It's trust. Trust in your people, who understand the mission's intent and are empowered to use their own judgment. Which leaves us with a really important question for all of us. In our own companies, in our own teams, are we building systems that empower that human judgment, or are we accidentally creating digital puppets?